Hello, it is I, Boy Orlando. And today on the Game Marks podcast, we play Onita Atsushi FMW for the Super Famicom gaming system. All of this, plus the weekly tournament, Clash at the Feast. Plug in and put on those nostalgia goggles, because this week's Game Marks podcast starts... No!
Bobby, give me my microphone back.
And now, the Game Marks!
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast. My name is Johnny Clash.
And I am George Feast, and this week we are playing Onita Atsushi FMW for the Super Famicom.
And we are joined by a very special guest, independent wrestler and hardcore legend. Bobby Orlando.
Yes, it is Diane Bobby, and I am a hardcore legend in my own little world. So yes, you're accurate with that introduction.
How's it going? You haven't partaken in any of our game festivities yet? So
I know. I'm very glad you guys invited me onto the podcast. I'm a casual listener. I've listened to episodes, and I enjoy it. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy my time here. You guys are two of my friends. I don't know George that much, but I feel like we have some sort of connection. Like we know each other our lives.
It's the beard. It's the beard gang.
We all have beards. We're all beautiful, and we're all ready to talk about Onita.
Yes, and as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on social media at GameMarksPod. How you guys doing today? Georgie, last week, WWE All-Stars with Brian Myers and Matt Cardona and our friend Silverballs, Mark Sterling. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I am still reeling from my mess up here. I'm trying to hope that the next time that I talk to Matt and Brian, that they will forget my little faux pas and that we'll be able to move on from that. Aside from that, I thought it was great. It was great to have them on the show, and obviously, you and I go way back with Marky, so it's always fun to have a conversation with him. And I mean, just the game itself, the content from the interview, the figs we had a little bit of everything in that episode. So
I've played All-Stars a couple times since then. It's one of those games that just stuck like in the back of my head. Like, I need to know more about this. I need to watch all those cutscenes. Because like we watched some of them. We can't play through an entire game in a week. So we watched most of those, like Paul Bearer and stuff, but I actually went back and I started like with DX and all that. Pretty cool game. I like the concept of all the like the Path of Champions and all that. It was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's super awesome, super innovative, super different. Bobby, have you ever played WWE All-Stars?
I feel like I have, but I feel like if I have played it, I probably like touched it once and then was like, I got bored and probably put it down. I am very, very like strict on which games I prefer, like which wrestling games. And is that like the mobile game WWE All-Stars?
No, it was around like PS3 and like Xbox 360, I think.
Yeah,
and then it came out on like PS2.
It's like the more over-the-top, cartoonish, like exaggerated, where like, you know, you're going to give someone the Stone Cold Stunner, but they're going to flip like 6 or 7 times in the air.
That sounds like the game that's coming out like next year.
Yeah, exactly. That's why everyone's kind of saying it's a bit of like a sequel in a way, but unofficially.
Spiritual successor. Speaking
of these like arcadey style games, I feel like we've been bringing them up a lot lately with All-Stars, and then we were talking about WrestleMania, the arcade game. But one of the bigger ones coming up this year is Retromania. And stay to the end of this podcast, because we have some news coming up about that game. And as we saw last week, speaking of Matt and Brian, they are playable launch characters in Retromania.
Unbelievable. What fantastic looking pixel sprites.
What fantastic timing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, good for them. They're going to be assets to an already stacked lineup with Tommy Dreamer, Austin Idol, the Blue Meanie, the whole BWO.
Nikita Koloff.
Yeah, Johnny Retro. It's going to be a great game. But speaking of these games coming up, how about we get into some gaming news?
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at vgfgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 are being remastered by Activision this fall. This includes all of our favorite parks like the infamous Hangar. If you don't want to wait until the fall to blast this game's epic soundtrack, head on over to Spotify where Activision put together a playlist of the game's 18 songs. Personally, I'm ready to once again finger flip with Bucky Lasek. Electronic Arts has once again confirmed that Titanfall 3 is not in active development for the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X, PC, or any platform. This comes way of Respawn Entertainment boss Vince Zampella, who noted that the franchise is on ice at least for now. According to Zampella, the series lives on in spirit via Apex Legends, and at some point he would personally like to see the series resurrected. Let's check back next week for some more gaming news.
If there was one game that we have talked a lot about on this podcast being a huge part of our childhood that was not wrestling related, it was the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. Bobby, did you happen to partake in that series as a youth?
Not so much the Pro Skater series, but I was a big fan of Thug and Thug 2.
You're a big skate guy too, right?
Oh my god, I loved skate like back when I was like a little skater boy and like
that's where we connect. That's the connection. I also love skate.
Since the quarantine's been going on, this controversial take. I'm not a big fan of the Call of Duty that came out this year, so I'm like, what old games? Yeah, I know. What old games can I play? And I was just like going through my gaming cabinet and I saw Skate 3. I'm like, oh my god. And I've been playing it like a lot. So.
The best.
Honestly, I bailed at Skate 1. I got like halfway and I was like, this is too hard. I'm done.
I love it.
I'm good.
It's the most satisfying game to hit tricks in.
I'm a big like open world, like free roam fan. Like that's why I like GTA and Skate 3 and stuff like that.
Yeah. I went back and I started playing Tony Hawk 2 last week, and I got through Hangar, I got through school, and I started France. But like when you first start, you don't have like all the moves and stuff and all like the abilities. So like Bucky Lasek Ollie's like 2 feet, so I couldn't hit like the 6 scores yet. But I think I'm gonna start streaming some of that. So stay tuned to the Game Marks channel for that.
I'll probably get the remastered version of the Pro Skater though.
So speaking of, we mentioned that it's obviously coming out, I believe, in the fall, 1 and 2 together. This game is being reworked from the ground up because Neversoft doesn't exist anymore, and it needs to obviously be on the newer consoles. But one thing I absolutely loved about Tony Hawk 2 was Spider-Man, and that's because Spider-Man was also a Neversoft game. But now, it doesn't exist. Are we still going to get Spider-Man as a hidden character in this game?
And is it the Insomniac version of Spider-Man?
That's what I'm hoping.
That would be
That's
awesome.
what I'm hoping.
I will say this. I have one fear for this game, and I am hoping that this is not the case. The last Tony Hawk game that came out, I don't know if you guys saw it or you played it. It was a train wreck. It was the 2K20 of Tony Hawk games, riddled with bugs. You know, it was not ready for launch. They didn't do any like play testing. It was just a horrible mess. It was like you know the fun glitches in the first Skate game where like you would get embedded into like the bench or like your leg would like trip into like the garbage can and like your character would go flying. It's that, but it's game breaking. It's not like a funny thing when you get launched. It's like you get locked into a trash can or a tree, and then all of a sudden you lose your save. The game has to be reset, and you lose everything.
God damn. I think more than Tony Hawk 2, I think I played Tony Hawk 3 the most. And by the time Tony Hawk 4 came out, I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of out of this. But then I was pulled way back in with the Undergrounds because those were just awesome. Chad Muska rolling up with his Escalade. Like, yeah, come on. That was cool.
I love that.
But with that, let's segue here and let's get into our favorite section, the question of the week. Finally, the Game Marks podcast has our own pro wrestling tees store. Brace yourself because the Game Marks podcast is now on ProWrestlingTees.com, featuring multiple designs created by us. Head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod today to play it forever. So last week, George, you asked me and the listeners what Funko Pops we would want that have not yet been released. I said I kind of wanted like an AEW line, which is bound to happen, I'm sure. I would like, MJF, Darby Allin. I think a Jimmy Havoc would be cool. And then we threw it to the listeners, and they had some pretty cool suggestions.
Yeah, one that jumps out to me immediately is actually a buddy of mine had actually suggested that Dusty Rhodes should get a pop, and then that hopped another idea into my head. Could you imagine if they did a Rhodes brother and father 3-pack? So it was like,
that would be pretty damn
cool. You get Dusty, you get Cody, you get Dustin. But the question was, is it Dustin or is it Goldust?
It's got to be Dustin, I guess. Their time together in WCW, he was Dustin.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think, like, do you do Cody like brunette, Dusty with just like his trunks, and then just the natural Dustin? Like,
yeah, you got to go natural. Bobby, are you a pop guy at all?
No, but it doesn't mean I don't find them like interesting. I remember I went over to Blob's house, and he has like a whole one wall is just Funko Pops. And I'm sorry if I said Blob and no one knows who Blob is.
He's actually supposed to come on here, so
yeah.
If you don't know who Blob is, he's the guy who just failed at the McDonald's challenge, so make fun of him for that.
His best. He made his best effort. But yeah, I don't know. It's always cool. Like I've always told myself I want to get into collecting stuff, and I can see myself like getting a few like Funko Pops. They seem
It's addicting.
It is the easiest collection to start without really breaking the bank. Like some of them, like the older ones, get very expensive, but if you get the newer ones as they're released, each one is maybe $8 to like $10.
If I go back to them, I probably only get like wrestling ones. Probably.
Exactly, and I got to give a big shout out right now because listener of the pod, Justin Summers, I mentioned last week I don't have the Wolfpack Sting Funko Pop. He hooked a brother up. He's sending me that pop, and in return, I sent him a nice little Game Marks package. So, thank you, Justin. Wanted to give that a little public shout out. And what do you say we get to this week's question?
All right. So here's how I was thinking that we could handle this week's question. So obviously, it is your turn, Johnny, to ask the question. But I was thinking maybe we could do our question of the week and then rapid fire some questions to Bobby. That way, our listeners have a better opportunity to know and understand the wonder that is Bobby Orlando.
Oh, the wonder!
That sounds good.
You certainly are a wonder. All right, so my question is, what video game story mode has made you sad or maybe even cried or teared up?
So, is it a game that makes you cry or sad because the game is over or storyline?
No, something in the story.
I mean, you say sad. Well, immediately the first thing that jumps out to me is the opening of The Last of Us with Joel's daughter.
Yeah, and then
it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, and then when Tessa, bites the bullet, but yeah, definitely that was definitely on my list. All right, George, you're not an Xbox guy. You've never been a Gears of War guy. For 2 story modes, Gears of War 1, Gears of War 2, Dom was just searching for his wife in this post-apocalyptic. I can't say that.
Apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic. In this post-apocalyptic world, he's searching for his wife, who everyone just assumes is dead. So in Gears 3, he finally finds her. He's hugging her. He's petting her hair. And as everything fades away slowly, it's just a skeleton. His wife has been dead the whole time. He's holding her skeleton. He still sees her. And then later on in the game, he takes one for the team. He drives this I don't even remember what it was. It's been so long. He drives this thing into another thing and it explodes, and that's the end of Dom.
Unreal storytelling. He drives the thing into the other thing.
Listen, that was like 10 years ago. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, Dom, after learning his wife was dead the whole time, took one for the team there.
Damn.
He pulled a Batman.
What about you, Bobby?
Okay, so I literally just had to look up the name of the game because I forgot it. But spoiler alert, the name of the game is Life is Strange 2.
Okay, yep.
And in like the beginning of the game, but kind of like an hour or two into the game, like the dad dies of like the two main characters, and it was so sad that I stopped playing the game. So I don't know what happens. I was just like, nope, that was enough for me.
Well, I will say that series is very, very good, and it's very, very interesting. And yeah, it's Johnny. Are you familiar with that series?
I know it. I've never played it though, but I've heard it tugs at the heartstrings a little bit.
Adventure kind of game where like the decisions that you make, you comes up with like 2 or 3 prompts, and depending on what prompt you pick, the story mode changes. So like it's like those books that we had as a kid where you can like if you want to do this, skip to page 153.
Those confused the hell out of me as a kid.
I think the dad dies either way, like whatever decision you make. So I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah. But that whole series is awesome.
So what questions we got for Bobby here? First of all, who are you?
That's
Who's
what
Bobby
I was
Orlando.
say.
I am Bobby Orlando, aka the Goatest of all time, aka your mom. I have been an independent wrestling superstar for 3.5 years, trained at the wonderful and, may I say, best wrestling school out there, and I'm not biased, yes I am, Creative Pro Wrestling Academy. Head trainers, Brian Myers, Pat Buck, and believe it or not, fun fact, I credit Johnny Clash into my training as well.
Whoa, I'm so sorry about that.
Yes.
Wait, that may be the nicest thing that anybody's ever said about Johnny Clash on this podcast. And I've done like 40 episodes with him.
Let me paint a picture. So, I used to primarily run the Creative Pro Twitter account. I still kind of do. Bobby actually does too.
I know where this is going.
I got a message from a kid about joining, and usually when they do that, they never come. They never show up. He actually showed up. So we used to do Sunday morning classes, just me and Max Caster running them, and it would be more for like newer kids, and he showed up. And I don't know what it was. You couldn't get through like a wrestling promo. And then we started to realize that like you could just do like Bobby Orlando promos, and we would like egg you on. We knew it was there. Like we knew you could do it, but like it just wasn't coming out. There was one where for some reason he just started ripping his shirts off. Like the training shirt he's wearing, he would just start like Hulk Hogan him in the middle of class. Like, don't you like waste shirts? He's like, yeah, it's fine. I just buy new ones.
I would say, what kind of shirt budget you got?
I've said this before, and I ate my words very harshly. I didn't think he stood a chance in hell, but when this is like the prime example of someone who shows up day after day, and like even when he leaves training, he's still training, like he's still working on stuff, and that's why he is where he is today. And like
name a better love story than Johnny Clash and Bobby Orlando.
Now he's like one of my favorite people.
Oh,
look at him. Look at him.
I knew that I wanted you on the show as soon as because like we mentioned, you and I have never met. This is the first time that we were ever seeing each other. But I'm familiar with the things and the happenings that go on at Creator Pro. I have a few friends that go there and train there. And as soon as we started running the Cap TV ads and you were the ones that were doing the promo, I was like, I don't know Bobby at all, but this is like the funniest promo for Cap TV ever. We got to get him on the show.
I like to be a huge personality when my voice speaks. That didn't make sense.
It's fine. It's fine.
All the kindness is throwing me off. This is
huge personalities, big voices. You're on the right podcast. You'll fit in great here. My question for Bobby was just going to be if you had if you had to pick like all-time favorite video game, doesn't have to be wrestling related, just number one video game of all time, what are you going with? And sidebar, second part 2, what's your favorite console of all time?
Okay. I'll start with the favorite game. This has been the game that has consumed my life between the ages of 14 and 19.
Rumble Roses?
What?
Rumble Roses?
No, I don't know what that is. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The multiplayer on that game, I could go on my account right now and look up like time played. It'll be like 60 days. I'm not even kidding. Come on.
Probably cross paths at some point.
What? Yeah, we probably. Yes, we probably. I think about that sometimes. Like, but that game, like, chef's kiss, the best multiplayer game of all time. Favorite console? For nostalgic reasons, GameCube.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I'm with you.
That's a great console. You know what? Aside from the game library and just how awesome the console is as general, you know what I think is very underrated and not talked about often enough about the GameCube? It had a handle, and you could take it to your friend's house. Like, that's such a genius idea. Why don't more consoles have things like that where, like, all you have to do is, like, open this thing and it's portable?
I remember I brought my Xbox One on vacation. Don't ask me why I brought my Xbox One on vacation, but I did. And it was just, like, the biggest pain in the butt to, like, carry it around.
Yeah,
they're like VCRs now.
Like a cinder block.
Yeah, it's insane. All right, Johnny, what do you say, since I know you're very anxious to jump into this game?
Is it time to take the plunge?
Let's do that deep dive, baby.
Let's go. Hey guys, Johnny here. While we love talking about video games and wrestling here on the podcast, we wanted to share with you a new offer from our friends at Stitcher. An enormous amount of shows and bonus episodes are available on Stitcher Premium, such as Office Ladies, Comedy Bang Bang, WTF with Mark Aaron, How Did This Get Made, Bitch Sesh, True Crime Garage, Marvel's Wolverine, and plenty more. Right now you could sign up for Stitcher Premium for only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year using our code GameMarksPodcast. That's all one word. Head on over to Stitcher.com/premium for this amazing deal and a free month. That's Stitcher.com/premium and use code GameMarksPodcast. That's all one word. Game on, Marks.
All right, so Onita Atsushi FMW, released August 6, 1993 for the Super Famicom.
How old were you in 1993, Bobby?
Nothing. 0.
He was a negative.
I was -3 years old.
Damn.
Wow, okay. Do you know what a Super Famicom is? I'm not asking like, oh, do you know what it is? Like, I'm literally asking, do you know what it is?
If I saw a picture of it, I'll probably be like, oh, I know what that looks like. But
well, if you saw a picture of it, you'd say, oh, that's a Super Nintendo. But it was just the Japanese version of Nintendo Super Nintendo. It was just called Super Famicom.
Yeah, I have no shame in saying I have no idea what it is.
Most people don't.
So this game was developed by Marionette and published by Pony Canyon.
Who better?
And this... Who's better than Pony Canyon? Nobody. So this game was endorsed by Japanese professional wrestler and former Japanese politician and Bobby Orlando's main man, Atsushi Onita. And you know what? The reason that Johnny Clash suggested that you come on for this episode is that you are a very big Onita fan.
I'd like to say that I like him a lot.
So what is it that, aside from his obvious badass appearance, what is it that drew you into?
I think that's just it. Like, sometimes I'll determine if I like a wrestler or not based on how they look. Like, Mankind is my favorite face of Foley, basically because, like, just the tattered, like dress shirt with the tie and the mask and stuff like that. Like, obviously I love Mick Foley as a wrestler, but when it comes to Onita, I I'm more like intrigued with his look, the way he acts, his entrance, like his demeanor, like that, like is like the subtle details in wrestling that I'm a big fan of. And Onita has like my entire checklist. I just snapped. I didn't know I could do that. He has like my entire checklist of like things I like about wrestlers. And I obviously I watch like his matches and like FMW and stuff like that. And but it's when it comes to the stuff outside of the wrestling, the coolest dude. Like he looks so badass. Oh man.
That's it. If you're not familiar with him, throw Atsushi Onita in your Google machine and just gaze upon the absolute badassery of this man.
So I was curious, you said politician.
If you want to take it to the next level, have it as your phone wallpaper for 3 months like I
did. So I was curious about him being a politician, and upon my research, he won the 19th House of Councilors election as a representative of the Liberal Democratic Party following Antonio Inoki. And he took a seat in it's called the Japanese Diet. No, it's not just sushi and chopsticks. It's actually a branch of legislature. And so, like Scott Steiner, Onita has claimed to have broken Wilt Chamberlain's record of sleeping with 20,000 women. And
a round of applause for Bobby Orlando.
His exit from politics was forced by a sex scandal in which he was said to have used government accommodations to host a threesome with porn actresses and a female employee of the Ministry of the Land. So,
I mean, if you're gonna go out, I mean, that's the way to do it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
We'll say that's a high note, I guess.
An unforgettable way to go out, nonetheless.
Definitely a way to go out. Or in.
All right, so back to the game. This is probably more akin to like a Street Fighter style game where you, as your character, whoever you choose to be, you have to fight your way through a fantasized, over-exaggerated version of the Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling Organization. And this is the promotion that Onita owned, booked, and was one of the main stars throughout the 90s. And I got to tell you, this is probably one of the strangest and most difficult games I have ever played in my entire life.
It's just a combo of a bunch of things. Like you start out in it's like a sumo match. You're like, okay, great. Like it's a sumo ring, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then you get thrown outside the ring and all of a sudden your face is exploding with fire being thrown into it from like pyro on the ground.
Yeah. And then the second level after that is like you're in an industrial factory. And if you stand too close to the edges, like flamethrowers come out and burn you and launch you to the other end of the screen and random like fireballs drop from the sky. Like, It does not read as wrestling at all.
A lot of electricity. Like, kind of reminded me of, like, 3-count bout, how I was just tossing you from side to side of the ring into, like, the electric tubes and stuff.
Yeah,
very similar. But at least this one, it does, as non-wrestling as it is, there is actually a ring in one of the levels, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah, it pretty much embodies that whole, like, deathmatch style, and, it really goes above and beyond to drive that concept home. So much like this game, or much like the Street Fighter series, this game features you have a health bar, and people who are familiar with playing like a Marvel vs. Capcom or an SNK style game, you have your move levels. You have like a stage 1, a stage 2, a stage 3, and depending on when you choose to lock up in a grapple, depending on the button combination that you put in or the button that you hit, you'll unleash one of those moves.
Brutal moves. Jumping pile drivers and
I was gonna say it's everything from like a spinning wheel kick to like a power bomb or like
a torture rack suplex type.
Yeah, or a weird brain buster suplex at the same time kind of thing.
Sorry, I was thinking about the brain buster.
It's almost like a release brainbuster, which is maybe the most dangerous move I've ever heard of. Can you imagine just you pick someone up for a brainbuster and then you don't drop with them, you just let them go?
It was like a brainbuster, but then like the game glitched, so it's just like it skips a couple of frames and he's just on the ground all of a sudden.
What do you say we get into this very short roster for this game?
All right.
I think I want Bobby to read these 4 names.
Oh no, I'm gonna butcher it. Okay, here we go. Well, obviously we have Atsushi Onita, Tarzan Gato, Ricky Fuji. By the way, Tarzan Gato looks really cool. Sambo Asako, and there's a hidden character called Megumi
Kudo, I guess?
Kudo.
Who's actually a female Japanese deathmatch wrestler.
Oh my god.
Are you familiar with her at all?
It rings a bell, but not. I'm not gonna say I know. I don't know. I don't think so. I know her.
Well, if you Google her, she's got the Cutie Suzuki vibes because she's got a chain wrapped around her head with flames coming from behind her. So I could just imagine what you just knew, huh?
I knew we were not going to get through this game without you bringing it up. There was just no way. There was no way that
your skin still crawls, huh?
There was no way that we were going to get to play a game for the Famicom without you bringing up that fucking game.
Damn it, I have to bleep that. There's also some bosses in this game that are not playable by you, the player one. It is, okay, you want to hear butchering? Here we go. The non-playable bosses. Ryuzo Yashijin, Killer Marshallborg, Knuckles Bomb, Discover Love. Oh, these aren't that bad. Jantonio Inoba. I think, okay, so I believe that's supposed to be a ripoff of Antonio Inoki because when you play, his chin is huge.
Wait, the next one.
Masked Bondage. Okay. King Shadow. And Combat Toyota. Not Toyota the car, it's with a D, not a T. And that is the opponent in Megumi Kudo's hidden match.
Yo, Knuckles Bomb seems awesome. That's Knuckles Bomb.
Knuckles Bomb.
That's the name. If I ever become a wrestler, that's going to be the name of my finisher.
Just WMDs and 5 knuckle shuffles all day.
I got to tell you, Clash, I'm kind of proud of you.
I know, I did well, but half of those were not that hard. So.
You've come a long way since our first... Yeah. I mean, you had a hard time when we did 2K16 saying Masato Tanaka. You've come a long way.
What?
Don't ask me to say that. Don't ask me to say that.
You didn't know how to pronounce Masato Tanaka?
He looked at it. I think he knew how to say it, but when he read it, he was just like, because it was like Randy Savage and Mr. Fuji and all these other like normal wrestling names.
Looking at a name can be intimidating. But.
Exactly. Speaking of looking at intimidating, let's go through this artwork here for the game itself. Bobby, tell us a little bit about Onita's appearance here.
You look in the bottom left. There is a picture of Onita, the king, the legend, with tape above his eye on his forehead. And I think that is the coolest look of all time. Just want to get that across. He looks like a badass. It has the FMW logo, another picture of Onita, and then I'm guessing that's Megumi Kudo.
Yeah, so not much of a hidden character if you're going to put her on the cover of the
game.
Yeah,
what the hell?
That's
what the hell?
Also, female on the cover, and this came out in what year did we say? 93?
You mentioned before about Onita's appearance itself in the game. That was like prime Onita, but now he looks very different in his leather jacket and jeans and all that. So this is primarily like what he wore, like the tank top and the blue nut huggers.
I don't even think it was the tank top. I think it was just like the white singlet that looks like a wife beaters or something. Like the white tank top and then blue trunks with the blue boots. I mean, that's cool and all, but then when he switched to the cutoff t-shirt with the jean shorts and like all the stitches and patches on them, and oh my god, I just love that look so much. Like I'm a big
it's a really cool look.
I'm weird and I like non-traditional gear in wrestling because I wear non-traditional gear, but I just love that like aesthetics of Onita. Super cool.
Yeah, for him it all works. It just all comes together. Like it
unkempt hair and everything.
Yeah, I'd say I'm going through these pictures of looking at his wrestling gear throughout the years, and Man, what a transition! Just from the tape with like the Letterman jacket and like the wrist tape, and then to this short, almost scene kid kind of hair, like, looking like
a little My Chemical Romance
boy or something, and then just the jeans with just like the writing all over it and the cut off tees and the leather jacket. It's awesome. It's you would not want to meet this man in a back alley.
I had a brief period of time in my life when I like wore similar quote unquote gear, and then I realized I can't pull it off, but Onita can, and I'll leave it to him. And now I wear knee pads that say your mom on it, and I wear a singlet that says Bobby Singlet. Thank you, Johnny Clash.
Oh yeah, I did put those letters on.
Yeah, I remember when you did that. I was when you got the singlet. You were like, "This is Bobby's singlet."
You're my biggest critic, so I gotta run stuff by you. But there's actually, I'm looking through like images of him now, and this shirt popped up that says "Evil Ways" on Amazon. It's actually pretty cool. I might have to buy this.
So this is the point of the show where I want Johnny to take out his phone. We're looking at the cover here, and there's a lot of Japanese characters, and obviously, I'm assuming that Bobby does not speak Japanese or read Japanese. So, Johnny, I would like you to work your crazy Google Translate magic, and let's see what kind of fun statements we get this week.
I hope it works, because this is an old-looking cover, and the text is not very clear. So first of all, get out your Google machines and put in Onita Atsushi FMW game cover. There's like one of them on Google Images. It's not that popular. Top left blue text says, "If the prison of the Wancho Railway extinguished the existence of FMW, it a person's dream?" Question mark.
Nice.
So let's run that again. Of the sea line, the existence of FMW for dreams. Great. Let's see if we can get this big text. I don't think we can, though.
It probably just says FMW.
Probably. The bottom red says, "I'm sorry, games of FMV." Okay, let's run that again.
This is literally the stupidest thing that we do, but for some reason, it is the funniest thing that we do.
All right, now it says, "I have to do it, gaming FMW."
I don't know why. I have to do it.
That's how I felt about playing this game when I saw the screenshots at first. If I have to do it, okay.
And that's what happened when you guys asked me. I was like, I have to do it.
Oh.
So if someone has a Super Famicom and they wanted to add this game to their library, did you know that you could find this on eBay right now for roughly $30?
That's not terrible, considering this game seems like it's very limited out there. You wouldn't see this at like video game trading posts. I mean, obviously in Japan. I don't know. It could be different there.
Does Funkoland still exist in Japan? Maybe there's something like that over there. They can go to an electronics boutique in Japan.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a game I'll add to my collection, but maybe one day we'll play it again. All right, Georgie, and with that, how about we throw to Clash at the Feast?
Oh, baby.
All right, so I kind of stopped counting at this point. Like, I don't even care anymore that you just beat me in all of these games because, like I said, you could beat me in all of the... you could beat me in all the Rumble Roses, all the 3-count bouts. I'm still winning the Here Comes the Pains. I'm winning the ones that count, the SmackDowns.
I beat you in Mayhem.
We're not talking about Mayhem.
I beat you in Mayhem. I beat you in 2K16.
Okay, but when we got down to like the live streams and everything.
Oh, no,
wait.
I'm talking
2K16,
about the episode.
2K16, I beat you. And then you went 2 out of 3 because you couldn't handle the loss. So.
And you could have said no, but you got
my
greedy.
Ego wouldn't let me.
Well, look, I'll say this. The numbers for the episode may be in my favor, but anybody who has watched a live stream knows that when we go live on twitch.tv/GameMarksPod, and it is Johnny Clash versus George Feast in any wrestling game. It's not as one-sided as one may think. You put up a good fight. And
there we go. Where it counts.
You usually beat me when we're live, so I'll give you that.
But with that, it brings you to 20 wins to my 9. And then there's still that one.
There's still that one draw.
That one draw. Yeah. That was WCW wrestling.
Oh man. So, I mean, we've done the deep dive. We've done the question of the week. We each asked Bobby Orlando a random question. I feel like maybe we should go ahead.
It's getting a little late, yeah.
Maybe we should. I think it might be time to rate the games.
The game!
All right, so Bobby.
Bobby's here.
This game. Onita Atsushi FMW. We have a rating system of Play It Forever or Future Endeavor.
You're fired!
Play It Forever is the good one. Future Endeavor is the bad one. Would you play it forever or Future Endeavor?
I would never play that again, probably.
so you're future endeavoring it.
Yes.
You're fired!
Okay.
All right. Johnny Clash. Play it
Future
forever.
endeavor.
All right.
You're fired!
I am going to do the same. This was a interesting game. It was very difficult. And for that, it is Future Endeavor.
You're fired!
I will say this, though. The next time that we have the Bobby Orlando on our show, I would
play
like
a good game?
I was going to say, I would like him to pick a wrestling game, and hopefully we'll be able to do this in person. That way it's, the more communal.
Indeed, when the world goes back to normal.
Yeah, when we could actually set up in front of a TV and, have a few Bangs or Rain energy drinks and get cracking. Or some polar seltzers.
You know what? You bring the game, I'll bring the polar seltzer.
I'll bring the beers.
I'll bring the beers. I'll bring the beers. All right, Johnny, why don't you tell everybody what we have coming up next week?
All right, so next week we're throwing it back to the arcade cabinets, and we are going to play WrestleFest. Now, I'm going to say this is kind of a two-parter, because while
I agree with that.
While next week we play WrestleFest, the following week, June 1st, we will be interviewing Mike Herman, the owner and creator of Retromania, the official sequel of WrestleFest that is out later this year.
Oh, so awesome. What a great game that we're playing next week. And then what a great interview for the spiritual and official successor to WrestleFest. I cannot wait. And I want to thank Bobby Orlando for coming and hanging out with us this week. Like we said, the next time that we have you on, we would love to be able to do something in person and play a more fun. More robust and in-depth video game. Hypothetically, though, if you had to pick your favorite wrestling game of all time, and that's the episode that we did, what would you want to play?
My favorite wrestling game of all time, and the game that I would like to play, is WrestleMania X8, one of the best wrestling games of all time.
We have our arguments about this, but agreed. Maybe we'll bring you back for that one.
WrestleMania X8, GameCube exclusive, I think. I don't know.
Yep, it was.
Oh, man. What a great...
Now that's an episode that has some legs and we can get a lot out of. But with that being said, I think it's time that I put a bow on this episode. So
wrap it up.
That is going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks podcast. Please check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store at whoa. I'm going to interrupt myself here. Bobby, where can people find you on the internets?
I'm glad you said internet because I don't want people to find me in real life. Okay, so I am on Twitter and Instagram under the handle @TheBobbyOrlando. I have a Facebook. I don't really use it that much, so you don't need to know that information. Pro Wrestling Tees, it's under Shook Crew, multiple Shook Crew shirts. And what else? I'm probably forgetting something, but what are you gonna do? That is for me. That's everything from me. I'm rambling now. Yes.
Well, I will say this. I give the stamp of approval to Bobby's Twitter account. It is I will do chef kiss. Mwah. It is a gem. It is wonderful content. Be sure to go follow Bobby and support the Shook Crew at prowrestlingtees.com/ is it the Shook Crew or just Shook Crew?
It's just Shook Crew.
Shook Crew. All right. And in addition to the Shook Crew Pro Wrestling Tee store, be sure to check out the Game Marks Podcast Pro Wrestling Tee store. It is currently the best way, besides listening, to support the show. And be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcast and subscribe wherever you choose to listen. Bobby, thanks again for hanging out with us this week. And can't wait to have you on for that wonderful GameCube game. Everybody stay safe, wash your hands. Johnny, I'll talk to you soon. Go do your thing and say goodbye to everybody.
Game over. Marks. Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.